Thank you. I'd like to focus on section 33 of the bill, which has very serious consequences for workers in the airline sector. And I'm just wondering why the Minister is facilitating solvent companies taking thousands of workers out of a pension scheme, particularly when there's negotiations currently taking place which haven't finished. I think that this will have a devastating impact on workers who paid into the scheme, losing up to 50% of their income. I'm sure, Minister, like all of us, you've received letters and emails from staff from Aer Lingus, from the Dublin Airport Authority and from SR Technics. And one of them makes the point that part of the reason for the danger and the collapse of the scheme is the failure of Aer Lingus to fund it properly, coupled with the fact that a previous government implemented cost reduction measures which saw many people leaving the airline at 55 very early in their working lives and huge amounts of money paid out. So previous government policies which ate into the contributions. And all those emails have anticipated a 50% loss in income when these workers retire. In other words, poverty in their old age, having paid into the scheme for 20 or 30 years in many cases. Now, these are solvent companies. Aer Lingus made a profit of 39.5 million last year. Its passengers went up by 12%. The Dublin Airport Authority made a profit of 26 million and also saw an increase in its passengers. There is no reason why these companies can't contribute and sustain a viable pension scheme. Just what's very, very clear here is that this is part of the race to the bottom, where pensions are to be raided and cut back to facilitate companies. SR Technics is a company I'm sure the Minister is well aware of. We have many people in our own constituency who worked there in Dublin West and obviously in Dublin North as well. That company was closed in February 2009 at the loss of 1,100 jobs, needlessly in my view, by the way, when it was very viable that other business could be undertaken by that company, as we've seen. Could have been taken over, for example, by the government. Now those workers have been dumped on the scrap heap a few years ago, and now they will find out, whenever it emerges from the four walls of this chamber, that they will lose 50% of their pension scheme and they'll have no say about whether they're taken out of it or left in it. And I think I visited recently the picket line of the Aer Lingus cabin crew, and the one phrase that all of those workers were using was race to the bottom, race to the bottom. They see the management of Aer Lingus trying to get rid of them off their books, using bad rotas, attacks on their conditions, etc., to replace them with a flexible bunch of young people who they'll chew up and spit out, and they won't have any pension liability for them. So just to back this up, Minister, there's been major pension companies have been exhorting governments and employers to get rid of workers off these defined benefit schemes into defined contribution schemes, so much so that it's anticipated that there'll be a loss of a third of such schemes by 2020. So this is obviously part of a policy of employers and obviously of the government as well. 65,000 workers have been affected by the loss of these schemes since 2008, and now many more are on the verge of collapse. So it would seem that the government and you, Minister, are facilitating workers ending up in these situations, with effectively a gun to the head of those negotiations by this clause 33 in the bill. I think what's very clear is that companies are using the recession to rationalise, to cut back, and every worker out there knows that their pension is now up for grabs. And I think it's scandalous that the government is facilitating this. And when word gets out, whatever losses you had in the recent local and European elections, believe me, they'll be very, very serious when workers in various constituencies around the country find out that the government is allowing this to happen.